I'm Robin Bennett. I'm one of the co-founders of the Dog Gurus. Susan Briggs is the other co-founder. We've been working together for many years, all virtually, because we've never lived in the same state. That's a little tidbit for today. Anyway, we own a company called the Dog Gurus, and the Dog Gurus is a pet care business staff training and consulting company. So we help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit, and hopefully build your teams into strong teams. So we have all kinds of resources about that. If you have questions, definitely visit our website and check that out. What we're going to talk about today, though, is something Susan was like, I feel like we've talked about this before. I think we talk about this fairly frequently because people need repetition sometimes. But we always talk about knowing your revenue per pet in whatever services you're offering. You should know on average, what is your revenue per pet? And I'll let Susan talk about the formula to get that in a second. But the goal, once you know that number, is to increase it. So checking every month or every quarter, minimum of every year, but I would say maybe doing it more frequently, will actually help you to grow your revenue just by increasing your revenue per pet. So the common example of this is why when you go to a fast food restaurant, they sometimes ask you if you want fries with that, because that's their way of increasing every ticket, every sales ticket that comes in just by a little bit. And if you do that over time, not everybody is going to buy whatever else you're offering. But if enough of them do, and generally speaking, at least 20% will, you're going to make more money. So that's what we're going to talk about, is how to increase your revenue per pet with some add-on sales. But Susan, I'll let you start with just explaining how to get that calculation for people that might not have ever figured it out.
Awesome. Yes. I think the most straightforward way is to look at it on a company-wide basis. And so you can start with just pulling up your profit and loss statement for the month or the period you're looking at. I would look at this monthly. And so just take that total revenue number. And then you need to probably go to your point of sale system and figure out how many pets did I service in that same time period. So that would be like for boarding dogs, if you charge per night, one dog that stayed 3 nights would be 3 pets serviced. Dog at daycare is 1 day. However you charge, count your units the same way. And then you take that total for this time period, divide it into your revenue, and that tells you what your revenue was per pet. And like I say, it is one of my KPIs that I think everybody should track and monitor every month. Then you can refine that and actually get it down by service, but start at just your company level. And then you should see progress on some of the things we talk about today if you then actually implement and focus on add-on sales.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Susan? Go
I
ahead.
just want to say, we don't want it to be like sleazy fries with that sales. We want it to be things you can add that is valuable to the client and or the pet. And so don't walk away thinking we're going to teach you how to upsell fries.
Yeah. And obviously with everything, there is so much that you can offer. And maybe it's not something you offer every single day. Maybe it's something you offer just once a month or once a week, or maybe it's a special event, whatever it is. The idea is to add on something to those clients who are already coming into your facility so that you can generate more revenue from them. A lot of people look at marketing and they look at, we got to bring in new clients and bring in new clients and bring in new clients. And obviously that's important, but there's a whole boatload of clients that you already have that might want some other service that you're offering or some other item that you're offering. And the reason we talk about this, particularly in January and February, because the pet industry, for those of you that are doing especially lodging, you know that things really slow down in January. So to some extent, training is not in that. Training pretty much slows down over the holidays because people aren't really training their pets, but boarding obviously picks up over the holidays. And then January, there tends to be this huge drop off. And every single year in the middle of the summer, Susan and I are thinking and saying, hey, plan your January now because you know you're not going to make that much money. So you need to be figuring out what you can offer to those clients who do come in, or what you can offer to encourage your clients to come in when they might not come in normally, like in a January, February timeframe. So that's really what we're looking at, is being creative to do some add-on sales to your current clients. So what are some ideas you might have, Susan, for some of this? Oh, and I will say, to go back to what Susan said a second ago, this is all about selling. We like to say selling with integrity. It is not about like just charge more for whatever and be this sleazy salesman that's just out there to make a buck. We obviously do want to generate revenue, but we want it to be truly valuable for the pet and for the pet parent as well.
I think we should start off talking about fun things because you mentioned special events. I think you can ramp those up a little bit in the slow season, maybe do it once a week, whereas before you might have only done it once a month, and follow a theme. Love is in the air would be some fun things you could do in February. Kissing booths, could even do some maybe do some craft projects with hearts with paw prints on them and do a theme, and maybe sell a package of if you're doing one a week and there's 4 weeks, a package of 4, and maybe they save 10% versus buying one every week, and then they're committing to come in every week. I know you had like a trick of the month that you did in off seasons.
Yeah, we always offered for daycare clients, we always offered a special trick for, especially for months where we were tended to be more slow, where they had to bring the dog to daycare. So we obviously charged the daycare fee, but then we charged a fee on top of that to teach the dog the trick. And typically the dog would have to come to daycare at least 3 to 5 days in order for the instructor to be able to have enough time to work with the dog. So that was encouraging daycare attendance and additional revenue from the trick of the month. And for those, if you go to the Doggaroos website, we did partner with Blue Nine Pet Products. If you have a team and you don't have trainers on staff, we partnered with Blue Nine Pet Products to actually create a trick of the month package for your team that includes 15 months worth of tricks, all the like marketing materials you need, some planning materials to figure out what to charge for it and that kind of thing. But then there's also Jamie Popper from Blue Nine has done instructional videos. So no matter what level of knowledge your staff has, they can watch these videos and learn how to teach the tricks to the dog. So it's a great way to generate a little bit more revenue. And you could do that just once in a blue moon, or you can do it every month because it's additional revenue every month. Obviously the trick varies every month as well. The other thing that we often did was took advantage of the Super Bowl time. So especially if you're in the city with teams that are playing, but even if you're not, people tend to get hyped up about the Super Bowl. So you could have Super Bowl type themes to encourage people to come into daycare for a party. And then for lodging, especially for Valentine's Day, you could actually do a date night where your dog comes in and you'll take care of the dog overnight so that couples can go out and celebrate the holiday, the Valentine's Day, without having to worry about their dog. So at our rec center, they call it Parents Night Out, where the kids are being dropped off. But so it's the same principle where you just encourage people to come in for lodging. And maybe we talked about in the past, even partnering with a local restaurant where you might be able to get a gift certificate from a really nice restaurant. So you buy that gift certificate and then you sell a package that includes that gift certificate to obviously pay for the gift certificate that you're going to give them. But the package includes the lodging for the dog, a gift certificate for the family to go out, and it's done for them night out in the town and you could do that for any holiday, but Valentine's Day kind of makes it a nice, easy thing to sell. So that's another option. So any of those things, I think, are good ways to generate revenue. And if any of you guys have ideas, definitely let them post them in the comments. Carrie actually said, charge for a pet parent activity class. Wait, how can I show this? Okay, here. A chance for pets and their parents and their pups to come in to play for an hour, maybe make it about teaching one enrichment activity. So I love that idea. And Carrie, who's actually one of our coaches, she had a facility in Anchorage, Alaska. And you did those, I think, monthly or quarterly, didn't you, Carrie? If you just post that in the comments. But she would have times where you invite the parent and the dog to come in and have a little class of some sort. And you could teach them something. You could build a craft together. Like you could do those things that are super popular right now. Are those there's like these events where like the sip and draw events.
Oh yeah, drink wine.
Yeah, where you have wine and you do a draw. Like people love to go places like that and do stuff like that. And I think if they can invite their dog with them, that would be really good. And if you serve some wine or have some sodas or whatever, but you could do something like that and you could charge for it. Yeah, so Carrie said she did that monthly. And he said, "Tech date night, what a great idea."
Yeah, and these activities, you can do them in your slower periods. You don't have to offer them all the time because it does help bring in that revenue per pet in the slower periods. And it also, you may have staff that are more, they feel like they have the time that they can do some of these things that feel rushed in the peak period. So I
Yeah,
think
and it's also a way to not have to let your staff go home, because that's the challenge is how do you, if you don't have as much work, how do you balance the staff? Now, some of your staff may be like, woohoo, a day off with no pay. That's awesome. But there's probably a lot of your staff that are like, I need the revenue, like I need the income. You can't just let me go. And then if you don't, if you just keep them on, bare minimum, we would say make sure they're being productive with seasonal cleaning or whatever. But if you can, if because you still are going to have to pay them whether you have dogs there or not. But we would say have them do some of that seasonal cleaning, but get the dogs in there so that they can do work with the pets as well.
so. I think another category. So we talked about fun, special event type things. Another category not to overlook would be add-on sales of other services. If they're coming in for daycare, do you want an exit bath or a nail trim? I've set up like my dog get his nails trimmed every month at his daycare because he and I, it's not something we enjoy doing together, Archie, and so it's just better for him and for my hardwood floors if they do it. So setting up and encouraging some of those, either a bath, nail trim, or groom, and making those recommendations, or do some special treats that you either make or that you sell as part of your retail, or buy them wholesale and then sell them. And that can tie into some of your fun themes or not. So add-on sales can be things that that you provide all the time, but it's the suggestion or making it a focus that can increase the revenue.
Yeah, and that could also just be for when the dog is coming in for one particular day. So I know you did Mardi Gras. Wait, what? No, it
Oh,
wasn't Mardi Gras.
Cinco de Mayo.
That's it. I was like, it has an M in it, Cinco de Mayo. So could you talk about that? How you did that?
Yeah, we had a Cinco de Mayo party, and so we made nachos for the dogs, but it was with all human grade ingredients. So we had corn tortillas that we cut and baked the chips so that it didn't have salt on it. And then we had, I think we did plain yogurt and actual meat and some cheese. And my staff were eating them while they were making them. It was great. But then you just have the decorations, and we did do a lot of special treat add-ons, and we rotated them either for events or just to have different flavors, like the pumpkin in the fall. You want like warm things, probably apple, and then like in the summer months, it would be strawberry. So we did s'mores. And so we would use graham crackers, plain yogurt, and then different toppings because they were easy to make. And so we were always doing add ons of those little homemade s'mores.
Yeah, and I know everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people think of this for Thanksgiving and Christmas because they do Thanksgiving meals and Christmas meals. But it's that same type of concept is that you could do something over Valentine's Day with safe chocolate alternatives that a pet could have. But you could do something for Super Bowl, just like everybody's used to eating Super Bowl snacks for themselves. You could create something for the pets. So that, and that, they, here's the other thing is last, I think it was Christmas or Thanksgiving, I forget which, but there was a couple pet facilities that I saw that were doing the typical Christmas or Thanksgiving meal to the lodging dogs, but they actually opened it up to everyone in their facility. So they actually went out and said, "Hey, you can get a doggy bag, not just for the lodging dogs, but if you want to just come in and pick one up on these days, you have to order by this date so we can prepare it." Which I thought was brilliant. So you don't have to only offer this if you have the staff to make whatever you're going to sell. And maybe you say, we're only going to make 100. And when they're gone, so that you're not like trapped in there making thousands, but if you don't have the team to do that, but you don't have to limit it just to that client that's walking in the door on that one day. If you give them enough notice, they might be really happy to take something home to use with their dog at home. So don't rule that out either. Courtney had a couple suggestions. She said they did happy hour. We did happy hour in our on-site dog park a couple times a year. Bring your own beer and we would have light snacks. And then the staff who arrived were paid. So that's awesome. And then she also said, this is a great one that I think gets overlooked by a lot of people. A lot of facilities give away pictures of pets every day on Facebook or whatever digitally, but they actually made a ton of money charging for Facebook shout outs. So $5 a shout out, one per dog per day for a photo or two, and maybe a short video. So they actually charged for those, for people to get those pictures on Facebook. So that's another, and I know a couple facilities that actually do that because it was getting so time intensive for them to try to take pictures of every dog and then make sure that all the dogs were getting on Facebook, where some owner wasn't like, I never see my dog. And so they just started to charge for that, which I think is an awesome idea. And then Courtney also said we had an employee who loved to make homemade no-bake treats. So we sold those seasonally, and clients and their pets love them. So yeah, just like there's bakeries now for dogs, these are things that you can easily prepare and make and sell in your facility as well. So I love all those. So I think this is for Courtney. If you want to answer this in the chat, do you only post pictures of dogs that paid, or you just prioritize the ones who paid for a shout out? So I'll let Courtney answer that in the comments.
And I think this is also a good time to look at what services your clients are using. So let's say you've got dogs that are coming in for a spa visit, but they've never done daycare, or you offer enrichment. Maybe you set up to where you try to sell one enrichment activity to the dog while they're there for their spa visit. And it gives them a taste of what that service may be like. And you may actually pick up a daycare client. So I think looking at the services where clients are coming in and cross-selling to other services during this time of year is a worthwhile focus. And it just takes some recommendations, and you guys know the dogs. You can brainstorm, look at your list coming up for the next week and say, okay, which dogs do you think would be good candidates, to give your front desk team some insight as to why you think that would be a good thing for them to do.
Yeah. And I think the idea is I would recommend getting your team together and brainstorming some of these ideas, because I can guarantee you your team probably has some really good ideas that are just, number one, gives them an opportunity to shine in terms of what their ideas are. And the great thing about that is it's an easy way to test some ideas out that your staff might bring to you, where you're not having to commit to say, we're going to change our whole program and roll out a whole new thing and do it forever. You can just say, that's a great idea. Let's try it 3 weeks from now, and let's start all the planning for it. And then if it works, great. Maybe you can repeat it at another time of year. But I think it gives you a lot of opportunity to test and see what works great and what people really like, and then modify it. But I think your team will give you a lot of ideas. And I would really encourage them to start thinking of those ideas, because it's stuff that's going to be fun for them too. I was going to say something else about the team, and now I can't remember what, but I'll think of it in a second. Hang on. So Courtney said we would post pictures of dogs who paid, but other dogs may be in the picture as well. Paying for the service was a way to guarantee that you would see your dog online. And a lot of people do include, for those of you that do memberships, we have a lot of people that include that level of photo as part of a membership. So they're getting the money that way as well. So that's another way to look at how to sell that. Okay, I just remember what I was going to say a second ago. Speaking of team, the other thing you have to consider as we wrap this up is, once you figure out what idea, or hopefully multiple ideas, you're going to come up with, let's say you just have a brainstorming session with your staff and they come up with all these ideas, and then I would map them out to decide when you can do them, and obviously what you need to implement them, and then how you're going to let your clients know that you're doing them. But then you also need to train your team how to actually recommend the item. You have to teach them what words to say, or and we recommend role playing for this a lot, where you can just pretend that you're a client and you come in and you're dropping off Fifi for daycare. And there's a short period of time where the person is dropping off, and your staff has to be able to easily and in a non-sleazy way say, hey, we have this thing coming up. Do you want to partake in it? Or do you want to do it? Or you want to make a reservation for it? Or whatever that looks like. So you want to make sure you're training your team. Otherwise, none of these things are going to sell. So you don't want to, it's not the whole, if you build it, they will come. To some extent, that's true, but you got to invite them. So you have to teach your staff how to do that invitation. I don't know, Susan, if you have any additional thoughts on that.
No, I think just try a few things, like you say, and get creative. But I think the key thing is to have something you're focusing on at least every week. And maybe it's not every day of the week, but it's getting together and creating a plan. And I would do this up until spring break or when lodging picks up. And then you can go back to normal. Hopefully, some of the cross selling and stuff will become second nature to your team, but keeping it fresh for the employees and your clients and really focus on some new ideas every time you do this in your slow seasons.
And then remember that metric you want to track. So I would go back now and get maybe the last couple of months baseline of what your revenue per pet is. And then the goal is, did that revenue per pet increase? Because that's really what's going to dictate. Obviously, you want to make sure that clients like it, the dogs are happy, your staff is enjoying what they're doing. So you can make modifications based on that. But you also want to look at the metric of, did we do all this work? Did it increase the revenue per pet? Because that's really what you're trying to do. And if you do that time and time again, that money will start to add up as additional revenue for your business, which is what you want, especially during the slower periods. And again, looking forward, like spring break and then summer isn't as big of a problem, but in between spring break and the summer season starting, depending on what those dates look like for your facility, you're going to have another slow season. It's guaranteed. That's just how the pet industry works. So right now you should be planning for that slow period. So this is a great time to start all that brainstorming and start putting some things on the calendar and start working with your team to get everything set up.
Plus,
So
when you have your SOPs on like how to do the events or do the special treats, do the features and where you're going to put it, and you have templates for all that, it just makes it easier each time you do it.
yeah, it gets easier and easier with each repetition to where ultimately it can become just part of the cycle of what you're doing for your facility.